Offensive tonight on U.S. allies, the Kurds. The military assault now underway. Airstrikes from Turkey. The Kurds, who had helped the U.S. in the fight against ISIS, now targeted themselves. And what about the prisons holding thousands of ISIS fighters secured by the Kurds? Tonight, ABC News has learned some of the Kurds have already left their posts at those prisons. Just 24 hours after the White House said it will not cooperate with the impeachment inquiry, Speaker Pelosi saying the president is not above the law. And tonight, Joe Biden saying the president should be impeached. Two major storms tonight, the coastal system about to slam the east, New York up through Boston. And the major snowstorm, more than a foot of snow elsewhere in this country. And the fire dangers in the west. Power companies tonight cutting off power to hundreds of thousands to protect their own liability. Many outraged. The deadly attack at a synagogue overseas on the holy day of Yom Kippur. Chilling images of a gunman opening fire. New allegations against former Today Show host Matt Lauer. Tonight, a woman now reportedly describing to Ronan Farrow an alleged sexual assault. Matt Lauer responding tonight, and so is NBC. The passenger revolt on board a cruise ship. Americans on board. The ship forced to skip several ports. Protests on board. Passengers now demanding refunds. And the massive fire coming in late today. Reports of injuries as flames tear through this motel.
This is ABC World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a Wednesday night. We have a lot to get to, and we begin tonight with the military operation underway right now. Just days after President Trump announced a withdrawal of U.S. troops from a key part of Syria after a phone call with Turkey's president, Turkey is now striking the very U.S. allies, the Kurds, who helped the U.S. fight ISIS. Turkey's military first launching airstrikes on Kurdish targets, and tonight there are reports that civilian targets have been struck as well. Civilians now trying to flee to safer ground. Officials there are warning of a humanitarian catastrophe tonight. And it's those U.S. Kurdish allies who are guarding thousands of ISIS prisoners in Syria. And ABC News learning tonight many have already left their posts. President Trump, just days after talking with Turkey's president, now saying today what Turkey is doing is a bad idea. ABC senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell leading us off tonight from Iraq.
Tonight, war in northern Syria. An all-out Turkish offensive against America's Kurdish allies has begun. Jets bombing Kurdish positions and towns in an operation Turkey's president claims will prevent a terror corridor and bring peace. But the panic on the ground tells a very different tale. The Kurds reporting multiple civilian targets have been struck, killing at least 2. With no notice, locals forced to run for their lives, fleeing artillery fire, cramming into the back of pickup trucks with whatever belongings they can. Officials now warning of a humanitarian disaster.
All right, let's go.
But we've been on the front line with the Kurds, watching their troops beat back ISIS for years, fighting alongside American forces. But facing an invasion, the Kurds tonight are halting their fight against ISIS alongside the US. A US official now telling ABC News some Kurdish fighters guarding ISIS prisoners have now left their posts to reinforce the front line against Turkey. The onslaught coming just days after President Trump appeared to give the green light, abruptly pulling US forces back from the border after a call with Turkey's President Erdogan. But today, President Trump claiming the United States does not endorse the operation, calling it a bad idea.
Are you concerned that Erdogan will try to wipe out the Kurds?
I will wipe out his economy if that happens. I'm sure that I hope that he will act rationally.
The president pressed too on those ISIS prisoners.
ISIS fighters escape and pose a threat elsewhere.
Well, they're going to be escaping to Europe. That's where they want to go. They want to go back to their homes.
With a ground invasion underway, critics, even in his own party, blasting the president's decision to abandon the United States' Kurdish partners.
If he follows through with this, it'd be the biggest mistake of his presidency.
Congresswoman Liz Cheney saying impossible to understand why Donald Trump is leaving America's allies to be slaughtered and enabling the return of ISIS.
So let's get to Ian Pannell. He's live in Iraq tonight. And Ian, you've reported alongside the Kurdish forces on the front lines before. And tonight you've reported some are no longer securing those ISIS prisons as they now try to defend themselves. How are they likely to respond to Turkey?
Well, David, look, the Kurds have far less firepower than the Turkish military, but they're hugely battle-hardened and highly motivated. So what we should expect is for them to step aside and allow the Turkish military to come in on the ground, as they have already tonight, and then engage them guerrilla style, just as they did so successfully against ISIS. David?
All right, Ian Pannell on the ground for us. And one more note on this. Not only have many of the Kurds left their posts securing those ISIS prisoners, now the fight against ISIS. The U.S. had been teaming up with the Kurds. That fight has stopped. So let's bring in Martha Raddatz tonight. Martha, we were just on the ground in Iraq on the Syria border. You know, U.S. military leaders were telling me that the fight against ISIS was very much alive, still a serious threat. So what are you learning tonight about the mission now suspended in Syria and those Kurds now abandoning the ISIS prisons?
Well, David, those Kurdish fighters feel they have no choice but to leave those prisons and fight for their own families as Turkey invades. But, David, you and I both know how dangerous those prisons are. 11,000 ISIS prisoners who could simply blend in with the population or flood surrounding areas. And Pentagon officials feel this could get much worse if President Trump pulls out all the American troops quickly. And I am being told many are doing their best to try and talk him out of it. David?
All right, an extraordinarily delicate situation. Martha, thank you. Meantime, all of this playing out as the impeachment standoff intensifies tonight. It was last night as we came on the air here, the White House refusing to cooperate going forward. Now Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying the president is not above the law. And for the first time tonight, the man who President Trump wanted Ukraine to investigate, Joe Biden, saying the president should be impeached. Here's ABC's chief White House correspondent, Jonathan Karl.
As a defiant President Trump refuses to cooperate with the House impeachment inquiry, and Speaker Pelosi declares the president is not above the law, a fiery Joe Biden now says it is time for the president to be impeached.
Donald Trump has violated his oath of office, betrayed this nation, and committed impeachable acts. To preserve our Constitution, our democracy, our basic integrity, he should be impeached.
It's his most forceful response since it was revealed the president asked Ukraine to investigate Biden and his son Hunter.
He believes he can and will get away with anything he does. We all laughed when he said he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot someone and get away with it. It's no joke. He's shooting holes in the Constitution, and we cannot let him get away with it.
President Trump fired back, calling Biden pathetic.
Biden is dropping like a rock. I don't think he's going to make it. And I guess this is one way he can do it.
The president made it clear today he is ready to take his battle with Congress to the courts.
Probably ends up being a big Supreme Court case. Maybe it goes a long time. I don't know.
The president is now looking to beef up his legal team. He's talking to former Congressman Trey Gowdy, a former prosecutor who led the House Benghazi investigation. Back then, Gowdy warned the Obama administration it had no choice but to cooperate with Congress.
The notion that you can withhold information and documents from Congress, no matter whether you're the party in power or not in power, is wrong. Respect for the rule of law must mean something irrespective of the vicissitudes of political cycles.
Politically, the president is getting a boost from Senator Lindsey Graham, who today warned Speaker Pelosi that if Trump is impeached in the House, the Senate won't convict him. But Senator Graham's old statements are coming back to haunt him, too.
Article 3 of impeachment against Richard Nixon, the article was based on the idea that Richard Nixon, as president, failed to comply with subpoenas of Congress. The day Richard Nixon failed to answer that subpoena is the day that he was subject to impeachment because he took the power from Congress over the impeachment process away from Congress, and he became the judge and jury.
John Karl with us live at the White House again tonight. And John, President Trump has attacked the whistleblower whose complaint, of course, launched this impeachment inquiry, calling him a partisan and political. But just moments ago, as we came on, the whistleblower's attorney now fighting back tonight against those partisan claims.
The whistleblower's attorney put out this statement saying that the whistleblower has never worked for a political candidate, a campaign, or a party, and that the whistleblower's entire career has been spent in apolitical civil servant positions in government. And finally, David, although the whistleblower has come into contact with candidates from both parties in their roles as elected officials, not as candidates, so only while they were in government, and those were people of both parties.
John Carl with the breaking development there. John, thank you. And next to that horrific image from overseas tonight, an alleged hate crime in Germany. A gunman targeting a synagogue on the holy day of Yom Kippur. Video showing the heavily armed gunman firing down a street, reloading several times. He was unable to get inside the synagogue, but an explosive he tried to throw into the synagogue cemetery missed its intended target. He shot a woman passing by, and then the gunman allegedly firing at a shop nearby, killing a man there. And all of it, we have learned, he tried to stream live. Police now have him in custody at this hour. ABC's James Longman from Germany tonight.
The shots ringing out at noon in the East German city of Halle. A man appearing dressed in World War II-style military gear, calmly firing and reloading his weapon in the middle of a busy street. The attack carried out at two separate locations, at a synagogue observing Yom Kippur services. This, the holiest day of the Jewish calendar. He tried to storm in, shooting at one door, but it was locked, then unsuccessfully attempting to use a makeshift bomb. He wanted to throw what looked like a hand grenade or a firecracker, but it bounced off the door frame and exploded, this man says. Frustrated, police say he then kills his first victim before heading to a kebab shop blocks away. Inside, he kills one more before fleeing. Nearby residents told to shelter inside. Police able to trace that getaway car, arresting the suspect at 3:30. Tonight, German media reporting the suspect, Stefan Baylet, was possibly motivated by far-right extremism in a nation grappling with an uptick of anti-Semitic and anti-immigrant crime.
James Longman with us live tonight at the Holocaust Memorial in Germany. And James, this gunman, sadly using a similar tactic of other recent extremists who've tried to carry out these attacks and live stream the shooting.
Yeah, that's right, David. He posted a video of the attack online, but that's since been removed. And he had written about killing people he described as non-whites, especially Jews. But as bad as this attack was, it could have been a lot worse. His gun kept jamming. Those makeshift bombs didn't really work. And thankfully, those synagogue doors remain closed. David.
All right, James Longman live in Berlin tonight. Thank you, James. Back here at home to those two major storms we're following tonight. The coastal system about to slam the east, New York up to Boston. The major snowstorm, more than a foot of snow in the middle of the country. And of course, there are fire dangers in the west as well. Meteorologist Rob Marciano tracking it all for us. Hey, Rob.
Hi, David. These are two significant storms, both with wide-reaching impacts. Let's start with the northeast, that coastal low due east of D.C., but it's not moving much. We'll stay offshore. If anything, it'll drift to the west. That means more rain for New York, New Jersey, and a long-duration rain and wind event for much of southeast New England. Could see 30 to 50-mile-per-hour winds. That doesn't wind down till the weekend. Here comes the Midwest snowstorm. Denver, you're 80 today. You'll drop 60 degrees tomorrow. Whiteout conditions from there up through Minnesota. Could see a foot of snow with some of the season's coldest air coming in with that big blue H. And that is going to set up our Santa Ana wind event. We have extreme fire danger from San Francisco up the valleys and just outside of Los Angeles. Dangerous winds that will persist right through Friday. David?
Rob Marciano, a busy night in the weather department. Rob, thank you. And you heard Rob mention there those winds in the forecast in California. Tonight, California's largest utility taking an extraordinary move, cutting power to hundreds of thousands to avoid wildfires sparked by wind-blown power lines. But many are furious. ABC's Will Carr in Mill Valley, California.
Tonight, hundreds of thousands of Californians are without power, including Lindsay Garcia and her 3 kids.
I'm hoping it doesn't last 5 days, you know? I mean, that's kind of insane.
After power lines sparked a series of historically devastating wildfires, the utility company PG&E just proactively shut power off across the region. The first wave of outages striking in the middle of the night.
Tens of thousands are in the dark.
Frustration now growing.
PG&E, while out doing operations, some of their field-level staff have been met with some aggression.
Some are surviving by generators, others draped in darkness.
There has to be a better way than turn the power off for 5 days, because that's going to trash our economy.
Many businesses forced to shut their doors.
So there's no way that you can do business today?
None.
While residents stocked up on supplies, PG&E's website crashed, leaving families like the Garcias wondering exactly how long they'll have to power through without electricity.
It's not even that hot. It's not windy. I don't know why the power's shut off.
Tonight there's a real rush to get gas and other supplies because nobody knows how long these power outages will last for. PG&E says it could be through the weekend. David.
All right, Will Carr in California. Thank you, Will. We're going to turn next here to new allegations against former Today Show host Matt Lauer. Tonight, a woman has reportedly described to Ronan Farrow an alleged sexual assault. Matt Lauer responding tonight, and so is NBC.